And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, March 7th. I am Josh Engleman here to break down a 7-game NBA slate. Looking a lot like yesterday. A couple games at 7 and 7:30, one at 9 o'clock, three more at 10 p.m. It is nice to be here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Hope you were able to have a good day yesterday in the DFS streets. I got one into the top 100 again. I think I finished like 80th or 83rd or something, but not enough to get it done. Once again, Alperen Sengun goes nuts. Highest scorer again, a guy that I had a pretty big stand on. So that went well. Just couldn't get that final piece to catch and really get to the top. But we're back here again today to do it all. Shout out to BetMGM for being the sponsor of the show. We'll talk about BetMGM in a bit. We'll talk about a Sims deal that you guys can get using that promo code Wemby. I've got a DraftKings sim run already. I'm running a FanDuel sim for the FanDuel peeps today. So we can take a look at that as well. Odd Shoppers pulled up. Lots going on, folks. Lots going on, but we got to start here. One, not looking good for Karl Anthony Towns. Torn meniscus. They don't know what's going to happen yet, but you have to assume this is not good for the rest of the season for Karl Anthony Towns. We also got the news that Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul in July in Texas. I hate it. This should not exist. They shouldn't be doing this. Ooh, Lonnie Walker now questionable. That stinks, considering he's my most owned net, and I have it on the screen right now. But as we look at this, there's no way that we should be letting Jake Paul fight Mike Tyson. That's a bad idea. A bad idea. Hate it. Don't want to watch it. Could not be less interested in it. It's not good. Jake Paul is going to separate Mike Tyson from his consciousness. That's not great. Mike Tyson's old, man. I just tweeted it out. Mike Tyson is going to be 58 when that fight happens. Jake Paul was 5 months old when Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear. I watched that fight live, and I was a child. I should not fight Mike Tyson. But Jake Paul is going to step in there, athletic, a solid enough boxer. Like, this is no total farce. He's going to, Ron, you're out of your mind. Jake Paul is going to wreck Mike Tyson. That is just going to happen. I hope if anybody that thinks that Mike Tyson is going to win here, please feel free to put those bets down, because Jake Paul is going to be a sizable favorite. Y'all are crazy. This entire chat is out of their minds. You're out of your minds. He's 58 years old, guys. Hasn't exactly been like, you're nuts. You're nuts. Mike Tyson would smoke me. Yeah, no kidding. I have no training. If Mike Tyson doesn't knock him out in 30 seconds, you don't think Jake Paul's got a better gas tank than the 58-year-old Mike Tyson? Just sits around eating handfuls of shrooms each day. You guys are crazy. Jake Paul's going to put him to sleep. Jake Paul is going to put him to sleep. Yeah, I saw him at 55 before the Roy Jones Jr. fight. You know who else Jake Paul beat the shit out of? Roy Jones Jr. There's got to be a line out there, right? Jake Paul's got to be a massive, massive favorite. This will be out sometime today. If anybody finds a line on this one, let me know. Josh doesn't watch Mike train. Mike's 58, man. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? This isn't close. I'm shocked they can license this fight. Put every dollar you can find on Jake Paul, guys. I mean this sincerely. Every single cent you can find should go on to Jake Paul. Well, like, Do we got to really do this? I guess we really got to do this. You guys are making me do this. All right, here's Mike Tyson's box rec. So his last win was against Clifford Etienne in February of 2003. I was a high school senior the last time that Mike Tyson won a fight. He's only 4 legitimate fights removed from getting pummeled by Lennox Lewis. The Mike Tyson that you guys think he is hasn't fought in, what, 30 years? 30 years. Like, I mean, this is not close. This is not close. Y'all are nuts. Truly nuts. How tall is Jake Paul? All right, so Jake Paul's got like 3 inches on him. Tyson's reach is 71. Jake Paul's reach, 76. So 5-inch reach advantage, a couple inches in height, 30 years in youth. Yeah. Jake Paul is going to beat the tar out of Mike Tyson, man. He's going to pummel him. I don't know how... What is Mike's... Mike has to land immediately. You think Mike Tyson has the gas tank now to go a full fight with Mike Tyson? No. Not at all. Not at all. All of you. All of you in chat. I'll take all your action. Every single one of you. Every single one of you. Give me Jake Paul. We know what the lines... You guys are acting like this is going to be an even line. All right, chat. Put it out there right now. Who is the favorite in the fight, and what's the line? Put it in chat. Put it in chat. What's the line on the fight? I'm well aware Mike Tyson would knock me out. I'm just trying to put age in perspective. Yes. Thank you. Jake Paul, clear favorite. You guys understand how ridiculous it sounds to know that Jake Paul is the clear favorite and to just be like, well, Mike Tyson's going to win? All y'all. Insane. Let's talk basketball. Way more interesting to me. 7-game slate. That's what we have ahead of us. Let's break it all down. And let's start this bad boy. I'm going to filter this down to the Brooklyn Nets. And we got it right here. First game up, Brooklyn Nets. Willie Washington. You can tell me that Mike Tyson's in good shape right now, but let's be very clear. Mike Tyson is not taking care of his body. Shout out games. We got to stop calling Jake Paul a YouTube guy. He's been a legitimate training boxer for years now. This isn't some YouTube guy any longer. Like, this is just his profession. We got to stop acting like he doesn't actually take this seriously. Like, there we go. Fernando Rodney. Perfect example. Josh clearly didn't see The Hangover. One-punch KO power there. You know what? I did see The Hangover. When it came out in 2009. 15 years ago, he had that power. He's absolutely a real boxer. It's insane to think that he's not. It's insane to think that he's not. Y'all are nuts. Nuts. Okay. All right. Here's the trivia question for all of you guys. Since you think Mike Tyson is immortal, how old can Mike Tyson be before you're like not going to take him against the dudes that are going to kick the shit out of him? When do we draw the line here? Oh, when he's 68. It's just Mike Tyson would beat some YouTube kid. 78. What are we talking about here? 65. So you can get an AARP card? He's not even a celebrity boxer. He's an actual boxer. This is a man that trains to fight as his profession. You act like Mike Tyson went out on top undefeated. He got pummeled for ages. If you're asking me if they fight in a street fight, yeah, I'm going to take Mike to do some weird shit like bite people. In a boxing ring? No. No. This is fun. This is fun. All right, let's get into basketball. Brooklyn Nets 2-point favorites in Detroit. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. This is going to be a fun one. I'll be back in July to let all y'all know I told you so. Marcos, I bet Bovada will take all the plus money they want on that fight. I watched that Lennox Lewis fight too. It was not good for him. Now, obviously, Jake Paul's not prime Lennox Lewis, but still. Okay, so for Brooklyn, got a little bit of a weird situation here. Cam Johnson out, Cam Thomas out. Ben Simmons now out for the year. Ron, bet. I'm in. Wouldn't even think twice. I'm 100% in. I'll even give you the odds. Whatever that line closes on, it's 20 to me, and it's whatever the Tyson line is to you off of that 20. So, $20 lunch bet for me, probably 100 for you. I'll give you the line. I don't know why Mike Tyson training Francis Ngannou makes Mike Tyson more likely to beat Jake Paul, but sure. Okay, let's get into it. So, Nets are missing 3 guys. The problem here is that we just got word that Lonnie Walker is going to be questionable now. Now, the problem here is that Lonnie Walker is currently projected for 32% ownership on DraftKings and 52% ownership on FanDuel. This was the best play from the Nets, and not even close. We had him 18% optimal on DK, 31% owned. So that's some negative leverage. Still the most optimal play for the Nets, but if this is going to go away, that's going to change up Brooklyn a lot too. Now, I really liked Lonnie Walker. You can see him in the Sims tool right now. Came out 67% of our lineups. We got to a heavy amount of Lonnie Walker. If he's in, he's 4,600. He's shooting guard, small forward eligible. That just fits, especially in a matchup against the Detroit Pistons. But if we lose him, then we got to start bumping up other guys. Jalen Wilson's sitting there at 3,400. We probably start looking a little bit more at DSJ. They probably go to some random guy off the bench that I don't even know is on the team. Lots of weird stuff going on here for Brooklyn. We also have a Q tag on Day'Ron Sharpe. That will affect, Trendon Watford in a little bit if they keep dropping guys. So very interesting spot here for Brooklyn. You see the rest of these guys, though. We had 12% ownership coming into Dennis Schroeder, 17 to Mikal Bridges. We got to 10% Bridges, but we're pretty well under on most of these guys. Dorian Finney-Smith is the only guy that we got to 10% of other than Walker and Bridges. You like the spot for Brooklyn, but now we're in a little bit of an interesting scenario to see who ends up being available. I wish that I could get to Mikal Bridges, 7,100 shooting guard, small forward. He's just not popping off the page for me. I have 9%. If I should show you guys what I have, I got to 17% of Lonnie Walker, neutral on Dennis Schroeder, and just 9% of Mikal Bridges. I like the idea of getting to Brooklyn. Ron, I have Lonnie Walker projected for 27 minutes right now. And if we're talking Towns, I assume he's done. Minnesota has no chance, guys. No chance at all. And they didn't really have a chance before Towns got injured either, but we don't have time for that one. Maybe we can touch on that for Minnesota. Hey, for the FanDuel peeps, I ran a FanDuel sim, just in case you're curious. Wait. How is that possible? That can't be right. There's no way it's the exact same. Give me 1 second. 10, 3, 2. Okay. I didn't run a FanDuel sim. Something about this is bringing the DraftKings exposures over to FanDuel, which is making me feel like I need to rerun this. Because this just feels odd. Something's off. But anyway, for DraftKings, big stand on Lonnie Walker. I'm just hitting up chat. Yeah, guys, Cat's done he's done. He's done. He's already a month behind the exact same thing that happened to Embiid. How about I do that almost made? Think about that one. How about I keep arguing with chat? Because everybody is having some fun here except for you. Nobody's taking this all that seriously, man. So either beat it or don't talk. I really don't care. Send your email if you need to, by the way. I got nothing else here for Brooklyn. We need that additional news. Keita Bates-Diop will likely look decent if we lose Lonnie Walker, because I think we're just going to run out of bodies. Let's go to the Detroit side. So Pistons, weird team that I'm actually getting to a bunch of. And I'm really curious to see how this looks in our sims. So I pulled up Detroit. Okay, I'm very different on the Pistons here than what our current sims are showing. We have 15% ownership coming into Cade, and then it's single digits to everybody else, but it's like the exact same amount. It's 5% to Thompson, 6 to Stewart, 7 to Ivy, 7 to Duran, 7 to Fontecchio. But you can see me, I got 29% of Cade. He's 7,600, 1.25 fantasy points per minute over the past 30 days. 30% usage, 36% assist rate. I'm more than happy to get over the field on Cade in this spot. We don't get a lot of Pistons as 2-point dogs. I think this is actually a sneaky good spot for Detroit. I'm also well over the field on Isaiah Stewart. He's only 4,900. He's playing 32 minutes a night. I've got 19% of Simone Fontecchio, 4,200. Small forward, power forward. He's playing like 28 minutes a night. I'm over actually on Marcus Sasser right now, which I think is just a testament of what value looks like to start this day. But I have a relatively large stand on the Pistons. Now, we're not seeing that in the Sims tool. We got to 10% of Asar Thompson. We got to 3% of Jaden Ivey. Very minimal amount of Isaiah Stewart. Way, way, way under the field on Cade Cunningham, which is interesting because we have Cade 15% optimal, 16% owned. There's not even a large amount of negative leverage here. He just looks like the best option. I'm surprised we're not getting to him in the Sims tool, but as I see it right now, I like him, and I think the ownership is more than warranted. But I like getting to these guys as GPP options. I think that's the main takeaway. Whether that's Beef Stew or Simone Fontecchio, those two guys look good at relatively low ownership. And I got to put it out there, full disclosure, I'm on back-to-back wins on Prize Picks, and I have Jaden Ivey's under. So I am cheering against Jaden Ivey. Alvin, you say Cat will be back in 7 weeks max. LOL. Like, that's a good thing. Like, Cat missing 7 weeks with a whatever torn meniscus, like, he doesn't just come back and be good. Also, 7 weeks is like the end of April. Their season will probably be over at that point. They get the wrong matchup in that first round, they're going to go home quick. This is a team that already doesn't have any offense, and now they're taking their second best offensive player off the floor. Good luck. Alvin, just tell me you're from Minnesota without telling me you're from Minnesota. Or you're a big Kentucky fan, maybe? I don't know. Moral of the story for the Detroit Pistons today, I like them. I think they're underrepresented. Speaking of Minnesota, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 1.5-point underdogs in Indiana, 228 total. Now, this is a battle of mirrored teams. The Timberwolves, obviously, not all that great here. Offensively, number one defense. Pacers on the other side, one of the worst defenses, but they play really fast. So lots of dichotomy. Minnesota gains 3.4 possessions over their average. Now, we've already started touching on this to start. Karl Anthony Towns is out today and will be out for the foreseeable future, maybe 7 weeks. And that's going to lead us to 68% owned Kyle Anderson. He's $4,300. Very different than he is on FanDuel, where he's still 50% owned, but he's $5,500. That's how good he looks today. He's $1,200 more expensive on FanDuel and still in half of the lineups. I'm more than okay with getting to Kyle Anderson, although I did come in a little bit under that 68% ownership. I got to 48%. In our sim tool, we got to 87. He's basically the best value play that exists. Well, no, he's the second best value play that exists. We'll get to that one a bit later when we get to San Antonio. But it's not just getting to Kyle Anderson. You can see in the sim tool, we got to 40% of a 20% owned Anthony Edwards. I assumed I would get to more Edwards, and I didn't. I'm actually sort of fading this Minnesota team, which kind of scares me. Rudy Gobert in the sim tool got 24% ownership. Mike Conley got 12. Naz Reid got 10. Obviously, Naz Reid should be stepping into a couple extra minutes with no Towns around. Naz Reid is the guy that I got second most from Minnesota, but look at the fades that I have here on Anthony Edwards. 8% where he's 20% owned. I have got him at 1.35 fantasy points per minute, 35% usage, and a 24% assist rate. I don't like getting away from Anthony Edwards here, but something is causing that to happen for me. Jaden McDaniels looks fine as a value option. Minutes are a bit more secure. Gobert is 24% owned. I might be a minute light on him. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's projected for like 14.5 points and 14 rebounds or something crazy. I only got to 8% of Gobert, though. I kind of feel like these guys are maybe a hair over-owned. Only Kyle Anderson is showing up with the negative leverage, though. We have Gobert positively leveraged, Naz Reid positively leveraged, Jaden McDaniels positively leveraged. So this is a bit of disparity between myself and the current projections. I'm less intrigued in Minnesota, even though the matchup is great. But I have no problem getting to Kyle Anderson. I do want to get to the rest of the Wolves, but you can see it's all in that like 8 to 10% range for Edwards, McDaniels, Conley, Gobert. Even Naz Reid, I only got to 13% of. So Minnesota is obviously in a great spot. 26th ranked defense, third in pace for the Pacers. You should be getting to these guys. But I'm a little apprehensive about how much I'm going to get to Minnesota. Maybe this changes. Maybe it looks different once we get to the deeper dive. But I'm a little nervous about this one. I'm surprised they're not showing up more in my lineups. Now, the Pacers side of this one, not all that appealing. They obviously have the awful side of this matchup. And hell, the defense probably looks even better now that Towns is gone. You can see in the Sims tool, we got to 7% Siakam, 7% Nesmith, 7% Turner, 5% Halliburton. We have no Benedict Mathurin in this game. He is already ruled out. But from an ownership standpoint, it's single digits everywhere, except for 20% ownership coming into Aaron Nesmith on FanDuel. So he's going to look a little bit better there. But highest owned guy from the Pacers is 7%. I got to 9% Nesmith. Like, I'm rostering 8 different Pacers, but 3 of them are only in one lineup in McConnell and Siakam and Jalen Smith. And the most I have really of anybody is 9% of Aaron Nesmith. This is a tough matchup, slow pace. They actually lose 1.5 possessions below their average. I don't really love the idea of getting to the Indiana Pacers. Interesting 2 games to start. Certainly a priority on Minnesota, but we got to keep an eye on that ownership. All right, 380 people in the door. Hit that like button, folks. For the first 2 games, I'm going to take a quick peek at OddsShopper and see if there's anything out there that we like. I'm going to try to limit popping over to OddsShopper for you guys. We still got to hit on it because I think it's important to be able to cross-reference some sports bets. Like Aaron Nesmith coming in under 1.5 threes made, plus 125 is the line that you can get at Bet365 right now. We've got a Bet365 deal out there. That's 6% expected value. After that, maybe Gobert under 16.5 rebounds is minus 120. You can grab that one at Fanatics. Those seem to be the 2 best options from either Minnesota or Indiana. I don't see anything from Detroit or Brooklyn that immediately jumps out. Schedule for the rest of the day. That one I definitely want to touch on quickly. Very easy here, though. We have NHL Strategy Show coming up at 2 p.m. You don't want to miss that one. I'll be back with Laffy on the Deeper Dive today. Did not know that. 5 p.m. Deeper Dive, myself and Dave Locker. And if you've missed us, we're here live before lock at 6 p.m. And then you'll get playback once again, taking you from 7 o'clock till at least 8 o'clock. Some games to sweat, some bets to sweat. Maybe we do another first basket in Brooklyn, Detroit, or Minnesota and Indiana. We could do another giveaway. So lots going on here, folks, at Stokastic for today. Don't miss all of the VODs that come out. My Prize Picks video is already out. My Jaden Ivey line moved immediately. Prize Picks knows I'm all over this stuff. Contenders videos will be out after this game. Coffee hitting that spot, too. All right, game 3. The Miami Heat are 5-point underdogs in Dallas, 231 total. As you can see on my screen, single-digit ownership everywhere on DraftKings for the Heat. We did get 13% ownership coming into Bam Adebayo and 16% ownership coming into Terry Rozier on FanDuel. But I basically didn't get to Miami. And it should be a decent enough spot. It's pace up. It's not a good defense. But these guys have all sort of stabilized in price. Bam's at 8,400. Jimmy Butler's at 8,300. None of these guys got to more than 10% optimal. So hard to prioritize anything from the Miami side. If I hop back over to the Sims tool and take a look at what we have, I'm starting to think that I don't have the right stuff in here. I'm going to rerun the Sim. I think when I ran FanDuel, I accidentally made something look weird. So I'm going to rerun the Sim, which you can see right now. First step of rerunning the Sim, I'm generating a 5,000 lineup contest pool. Then we could rerun and see if we're still getting these things, because that was a lot of Terry Rozier in the Sims. He's a decent enough play, but that seemed like a little bit more than I thought it would be. So I'm thinking maybe I was running FanDuel and DraftKings at the same time and kind of ran into an issue. So we'll get that built out now. And as that runs, yeah, I got 3% of Caleb Martin. That's the most I have of anybody on the Miami Heat. I thought I would get more, but Butler's overpriced. Bam is properly priced. All right, so now we're simulating the lineups. I don't have to make any changes, so we'll run those contest sims. Like, if you're getting to anything on the FanDuel side, it's probably Bam at 8,300. Butler's 9K on FanDuel. That seems pretty difficult to want to get to. It's just not that spot for Miami. I thought Rozier would pop a little bit more at 6,600, but 1.03 DraftKings points per minute over the past 30 days. Now, with no hero around, 24% usage, 25% assist rate. Still just a fantasy point per minute guy, though. I'm going to hop over on my sheet to the Dallas side, because I don't think there's a lot to talk about here. 16% ownership coming into Luka Doncic. He's $12,200, point guard only. We've got a little bit of negative leverage on him, but still 12% optimal. Clearly, you can always pay up for Luka, but we do have Nikola Jokic on this slate. We've got Sabonis around as well. There are other pay up options. Maybe you get to Boston. I love Kevin Durant today. We'll get to him in a bit. I'm actually getting to a little bit more Kyrie Irving than I'm getting to Luka Doncic. 9% Irving for me. He's showing up 5% optimal, 4% owned. So there's just not a lot of love anywhere to be found in these games. So I'm going to hop back to Miami in the Sims tool. That's just finished up. And I might circle back and hit every other team that we looked at. Boom. There we go. So now we could take a look at this. Got the exposures. We sort down to Miami. This makes a lot more sense. 7% to Terry Rozier at 7% ownership. Very unpopular team. Not really pulling through with a lot of simulated player ROI. I'm just going to circle back and hit all the teams we talked about just to make sure. So Brooklyn is still Bridges and Lonnie Walker and Dennis Schroeder. That all makes perfect sense to me. No surprises there. Detroit, 21% to Cade. Okay, so this is starting to look a little bit more like me. 21% to Cade, scattered amounts to the rest of the Pistons. Minnesota will now look a little bit different. Yeah, 96% of Kyle Anderson, 56% of Gobert, 44 Conley, 35 Ant, 15 Naz Reid, 8 Jaden McDaniels. Sims Tool loves Minnesota, and they should. They're the best team we've looked at so far. Not even close. And then for the Pacers, no one more than 7%. That's Halliburton and Toppin. If we hop back over to Dallas, 12% to Luka, 2 lineups of Kyrie and 1 of PJ Washington. That makes the most sense. I think Kyrie, Luka, and PJ Washington are the only guys you can get to from Dallas. And even then, it's Luka and Kyrie. Not much else to talk. Like, this is a pretty unappealing game, if we're being honest. As I look at the ownership for this one, they have 50% in the aggregate. That is one of the lower totals on today's slate. The only game that's lower is Chicago and Golden State. That would be the lowest. So we'll go to game number 4. This is the one that I really want to talk about the most. Now, the Toronto side is kind of easy. They look terrible. We have 14% ownership coming into Kelly Olynyk. The next highest owned guy, at least on DraftKings, is Emmanuel Quickley at 6%. You can see on the screen right now, Kelly Olynyk showed up in 8% of lineups. We got no one else. No one else showed up from Toronto. I only got 4% of Olynyk and nothing else. But this is a very different discussion on FanDuel. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. 16% ownership coming into Gary Trent. 30 coming into Emmanuel Quickley. 50 coming into Kelly Olynyk. He's 6,500 power forward center. Plus another 14% coming into RJ Barrett, where he's $600 cheaper. If you're playing Toronto today, you're only doing that on FanDuel. You're not going to be getting to a lot on the DraftKings side. And that's even with no Bruce Brown, no Jakob Poeltl, no Scotty Barnes. These guys really don't have the pricing that makes it look good. Like, Gary Trent's already priced where he should be. Grady Dick's already priced where he should be. Quickly's a bit too expensive. Olynyk's priced up already to $6,800. And then we do have to talk about one piece here. Ochai Agbaji is questionable. If he ends up out, we're going to find value here from Toronto. We just don't know who it's going to be. It's probably Jordan Nwora. He's 3,900 and power forward only. It could be Jalen McDaniels, who's the flat 3K, small forward, power forward eligible. If Agbaji can't be in, he started the last game. If we don't get Agbaji, something better will open up from Toronto on the value end, some low dollar play. But we are not going to have any crazy priorities from Toronto here. They just don't look that good. I find the opposite side of this one much different. For Phoenix, okay, so I think I'm going to be way different. I haven't even looked at my exposures yet. The Sim tool has Yusuf Nurkic 22% owned, or 22% exposed, around 20% owned. Now, I took the under on Nurkic on Prize Picks today, so I will be cheering against that. Nurkic is projected for 20% ownership. Durant and Beal are both at 15%. Royce O'Neal is at 10, and we got 3 to Grayson Allen. We only got Nurkic to 22. Durant showed up in 8% of our sims, Beal in 5%. No Devin Booker for this game, guys. When I pulled the rates, I pulled them and got very different players in Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. So I'm going to show you guys what I have right now. These are my favorite plays of today. I got to 45% of Bradley Beal, 6,900, point guard, shooting guard eligible. I am 3xing the field on Beal. 27% usage, 22% assist rate with Devin Booker not around when playing with the other guys that will be on the floor. Similar story. I've got 39% of Kevin Durant. He's 16% owned. Let's not forget, this Toronto defense is terrible. I've got Durant for 1.5 fantasy points per minute in this spot. 31% usage, 24% assist rate. I got him in for 32 points, 7.5 boards, and 5 assists. These two guys are major plays for me. I don't think this will change throughout the day. I think Durant will be my preferred pay-up option, and I don't think Bradley Beal is going to be too far behind in terms of preference. I already have more of him than anybody else. Now, Beal is 7,900 on FanDuel. Wildly different play. But Royce O'Neal, 35% owned, 5,600. Much easier to want to get to on the FanDuel side. I don't mind paying 10-2 for Durant on FanDuel, but he certainly looks better on the DK end. But it's not like we've got major negative leverage. Durant and Beal both got to like 11% optimal. I'm 4 fantasy points ahead of us on Durant and 4 fantasy points ahead of us on Beal. So I am taking a very big Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant stand, but I'm happy to do it. I'm hoping you guys will join me for this one, but the way that I see the Phoenix side, I want a lot of Beal and a lot of Kevin Durant. Major priorities. That's not to say I'm still getting to 13% Royce O'Neal. I'm still getting to 13% Yusuf Nurkic. I still have a little bit of Grayson Allen. The other plays do look good for Phoenix, but I want more of the two main. I think they get a major bump with no Devin Booker around, especially in this matchup against Toronto. All right, folks, 450 of you in here. Hit that like button. We have 2 more games to go. But before we get to those games, I got to talk a little bit about BetMGM. They are the sponsor of this show. This is the easiest deal you'll find. Minimum deposit at BetMGM is $10. If you bet $5, you will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That'll be 3 separate $50 bets. Worst case scenario, you lose those 3 bonus bets and your $5 bet. You have now lost $5 of your own money. That's not that bad of a deal to take those chances. You win one of those bonus bets and you're likely starting your bankroll off with an extra $100. You win 2 of them. You're probably over 200 or more, depending on which lines you took. There's a lot of additional money on the table for you if you sign up using the links in the description. If you're in a legal sports betting state, please take advantage. You got to be 21 or over. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. So, we just talked about Miami, Dallas, Toronto, and Phoenix. I'm going to hop back over to the sports betting side of this one. And do we see anything for those games? Oh, we have a new bet up that I must have missed on the first run. Andrew Nembhard, under 10.5 points, is our number 1 bet on OddsShopper right now. You can get that at -115 on PointsBet. Go take advantage. Now, Emmanuel Quickly. This is the second best bet. It's only been out there for 13 minutes. Under 7.5 assists, -125 at PointsBet. You can go get that. The line is a little bit worse at like Sugar House and Unibet, but take advantage if you can. Those 2 lines right now are at the top of it all. Kyrie Irving, under 3.5 assists, +172. That is the third best line. You can get under 13.5 boards for Nurkic. All of the top of this list, Nembhard, Quickly, Irving, Nurkic, Butler, Doncic, Nesmith, all of those lines are in some of the games that we just talked about, all providing positive expected value for you. Go out and get them if you can, guys. That's what OddsShopper is for. 2 games to go, and we are barely going to talk about this one. Chicago Bulls, 7-point underdogs in Golden State. It's a 223 total. Both of these teams are on a back-to-back. We know exactly, unless somebody is in or out for Chicago, we know exactly what they're doing with their rotation. Caruso is going to play in and around 30 minutes. Dosunmu, White, DeRozan, all going to play 38 to 42 minutes. And you'll get somewhere around 36 for Vooch. The highest owned guy on the DraftKings side is either 6% to Alex Caruso. The highest optimal is 7% to Alex Caruso. Nothing looks good here for Chicago. I got 3% of White, 3% of Caruso. They're a little bit different on FanDuel. 14% ownership to Caruso, 10 to Dosunmu, 10 to DeRozan, 15 to Nikola Vucevic, where he's only 8K. You can get to a little bit more of the bulls on the FanDuel side in comparison to the DraftKings side, but I don't think you should really get to them at all. And the Sims tool agrees. We got 7% of Caruso in our sim. Doesn't exactly grade out well. And one single share of Ayo Dosunmu. This is an incredibly difficult team to get to. As a reminder, I mentioned it before. This is the lowest owned game on today's slate, and it shows. We just don't have good plays here for Chicago. And if we're honest, we also don't have good plays on the Golden State side. We got Andrew Wiggins back yesterday. He did not play much. Assuming everybody is in for Golden State, I got to one single share of Steph Curry. He's the highest owned guy on DraftKings at 2%. If you prefer playing on FanDuel, Draymond is 8% owned. That's the high mark. The highest optimal rate is Steph at 5%. This team looks really bad. I'm getting to none of it. And if you think that's crazy, here's the Sims tool. We didn't get a single lineup in our top 150 that contains one single share of a Golden State Warrior. That's how not interesting this entire spot looks. So stay away from Chicago. Stay away from Golden State. The only way we want to get here is if we get updates to the injury report later today and they've got some guys out. Because if both of these teams are at what we normally know as full strength, I don't really see a situation where we're playing anything. Crazy spot. Crazy spot. We have one more thing that I want to talk about before we hit the late night hammer. And that late night hammer is incredibly important for today. But for now, let's look at this. The NBA Sims Max Package. We got a little bit of a deal for you. If you want to sign up for our Sims tool and get your first week of NBA Sims Max at 50% off, you can use the promo code WEMBY or click the link in the description. But WEMBY, like the man on San Antonio that we're about to not talk about since he's out. You get 50% off. Our Sims Max package is normally $60 a week. If you look at the screen right now, I'm scrolling down. This landing page is going to be great for you guys if you want to know more about our Sims tool. We break it down in full here. But if you want to see the pricing, NBA Sims weekly package, $59.95. That's data, Sims tool. You can generate 5,000 lineups in the contest generator, simulate those lineups, export whatever you need. You get access to our Discord, every piece of data on the back end, everything you could want. Late swap tool, it's all here. But you get it for 50% off. This tool is $30 for a week. If you have been trying to check out the Sims tool, we're going to talk about it on the show every day. If you've wanted to see this Sims tool, this is the way for you to get into it right now. $30 for the week. If you've been trying to get behind the paywall, you get access to everything on the NBA side by using that promo code WEMBY. We're only talking about this code on shows. It's not in any of our VODs or anything like that. We're only telling the people that are willing to watch us live. So take advantage. Sign up using the link in the description. $30 for your first week of NBA Sims Max Weekly. If you don't want the NBA version, technically that would work for a different sport. If you wanted it for... Actually, I think it's just NBA, so I'm going to shut up. Only NBA. Ignore me. But sign up using the links below. Use that promo code WEMBY. Well, are you guys ready for the big one? The San Antonio Spurs are 10.5-point underdogs in Sacramento, 238 total. But the big news here for San Antonio, we don't have Victor Wembanyama. And that has led me to 100% of Zach Collins. He's the best play on today's slate. Assuming we get Zach Collins in the starting lineup for Victor Wembanyama, it would be weird if we didn't. He's a $4,300 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy starting at center. We have him 39% optimal, 70% owned. He showed up in the Sims 69% of the time. Nice. I got 100%. I have a ton. Just very, 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 very easy to want to get to Zach Collins. He's the number one cash option that you will find. Now, he's 6,100 on FanDuel. FanDuel took him out of the equation to a degree, but he's power forward eligible as well. So he's still 20% owned on FanDuel. That's not the only ownership we're getting for this team. 30% to Vassell, 30% to Sohan, 35% to Keldon Johnson, another 20% to Trey Jones. Trey Jones is actually 44% owned. Oh, God, I skipped Boston, Denver. My bad, guys. The game doesn't look very good, so it was very easy to skip it as well. I'll circle back to it. We wanted to hit on this one as a priority here. Lots of ownership to San Antonio because of no Wemby. I mean, we're taking 30% usage off the floor in those 30 minutes. And you're seeing the same ownership on FanDuel. 40 to Vassell, 25 to Sohan, 25 to Keldon Johnson, 45 to Trey Jones, another 20 to Zach Collins. You got to get to a lot of San Antonio, and I'm doing it. I have 83% of Keldon Johnson, close to 20 of Vassell, 15 of Sohan, 20 of Trey Jones. SimStool's not telling a different story. 62% of the sim run is going to Keldon Johnson, another 35% to Jeremy Sohan, another 20 to Devin Vassell. We are quite a bit underweight to Trey Jones. We do have Trey Jones pretty negatively leveraged, as we do for Sohan and Vassell, but Trey Jones only 10% optimal. Still happy to get there, but Trey Jones definitely looks worse not playing alongside Victor Wembanyama. Ultimately, though, this is a matchup against Sacramento, not a very good defense. And they play fast enough that this spot looks good for San Antonio. I think you got to get to everything here. Keldon Johnson at 4,900 is a great price. Zach Collins at 4,300 is a great price. This is one of the best teams you'll find on today's slate. They're so good that I have 236% of San Antonio. That's the most I have of any team. However, I do also have 107% of Sacramento. That's third most. Play Zach Collins in cash. Probably play Keldon Johnson in cash. You can even think about Vassell and Jeremy Sohan. Now, on the Sacramento side, I like this one too. I'm getting to 49% of De'Aaron Fox, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days. He's in a pace-up spot against a bad defense. What's not to like here? 31% usage, 25% assist rate. I'm still getting to Domantas Sabonis, 10,600. He's in 19% of my lineups. He's 11% owned. 1.58 DraftKings points per minute. 22% usage, 34% assist rate, and a 22% rebounding rate. I got him projected for 23, 15, and 8. Dude is filling the stat sheet. Give me Keegan Murray, low-owned GPP pivot. Give me Malik Monk at 6,300. Seems to be playing a little bit more playing time. Kevin Huerter only played at the start of the first quarter and third quarter in their last game. Same situation for Harrison Barnes. So that's kind of weird. Still getting to Monk. I'm getting to Lyles. Here's what the Sims tool is doing for Sacramento. We have 23% ownership coming into Fox. So I'm a little bit heavier on Fox. I tend to be heavier on Fox on a regular basis. 18% optimal is the high mark for Sacramento. But the Sims tool is also giving us 20% of Trey Lyles, positive player ROI. 17 of Monk. 4 of Sabonis is a little light. I'm a bigger believer in Domantas Sabonis here. Would have been an interesting spot for Sabonis with Wemby on the other side too. But I think this entire game is interesting. It's two not great defenses, enough pace. Sacramento at home, getting to take on the San Antonio team. This is a game you want to take a large stand on. It's also the game that has the most ownership of any game. So don't sleep on it. There's a lot of chalk here for good reason. Very cash forward. Do I think the Spurs could end up starting Keldon Johnson over Champagne in a non-Wemby spot? Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't surprise me at all. They could flip-flop those two dudes. But even still, like in 28 minutes of Keldon Johnson, he still looks amazing. All right, I'm going to circle back and close this one out Boston and Denver. There's not a lot to say here for this game. So Boston's a 1-point favorite in Denver, 221 total. We have a Q tag on Jaylen Brown. It's single-digit ownership to everybody. Most owned guy is Jaylen Brown at 9%. It's single-digit on FanDuel, too. 5% to Tatum. We did get Jaylen Brown to 11% optimal. But, one, facing Denver's awful. 27th in pace. Boston's also 22nd in pace. This is a slow game. And all of these guys for Boston are priced where they should be. Now, if we get Jaylen Brown out, you can incrementally bump Porzingis or Holiday, Tatum, and White. But I don't anticipate to get a lot of Boston. I want to watch this game because Boston and Denver are very clearly the two best team, well, the two highest likelihood of playing in the finals. But on a DFS side, I don't really like the Boston end of it. Now, in the Sims tool, I'm guessing it's similar. I'm really curious where the Sims land on Denver. Oh, yeah, not to mention at elevation. So 7% Brown, 6% White, 3% Tatum, and a share of Drew Holiday. That's relatively limited, but I don't mind that. Anywhere in that 5% to 10% range for any one of these Boston guys, totally fine. Totally get it. But you're not going to prioritize anything from the Celtics. I'm prioritizing some things from Denver, however. There's only two things you can get to. Jamal Murray's 13% owned. Nikola Jokic is 11% owned. Both of those guys got to double digits in optimal rate, including Jokic being 20% optimal at 11% ownership. I got 20% of Jokic. I got 17% of Murray. I did not get a share of anybody else from Denver, but I want to get those two guys because I think they're in a great spot. They are going to cook, and I'm anxious to see how they look, but hopefully against a full-strength Boston defense. So that's where I stand for Denver. Jokic, close to 30% usage. He's playing 36 minutes a night now, 1.7 DraftKings points per minute, 43% assist rate, 20% rebounding rate, 27, 11, and 9. It's like DeMontis Sabonis out there, but actually can carry his team to victories. Sorry, guys. Had to do it. If we look at Denver in the Sims tool, this is how we will close out today's slate. Again, be sure to hit that like button if you're here. 475 people in the door. 41% Jokic with massive simulated player ROI. He is the big pay up stand for us in the Sims tool, and I have no real disagreements. I like Durant a lot, but if I'm paying all the way up to the top, Nikola Jokic is the guy that I'm looking for. We also see Jamal Murray get into 14% of lineups. They are the two priorities and only two options from Denver. I got nobody else, and our main Sim tool got nobody else. But that is where this slate stands. We take a look at the entire exposure post-Sim. Highest owned guy for us, Kyle Anderson in 96% of lineups. We got Zach Collins in 70, Keldon Johnson in 60, Gobert in 55, Conley in 45, Jokic in 40, Sohan and Edwards both in 35, and then we drop down into the 20s. If we look at the number one lineup that came out of the Sims tool to start the day, this is our highest projected ROI. Tyrese Halliburton, interesting pivot. Anthony Edwards, Kyle Anderson, Jeremy Sohan, Rudy Gobert, Malik Monk, Keldon Johnson, and Zach Collins. I really like that lineup, and I think that the Halliburton piece is very interesting. That's a fun pivot at relatively low ownership. But that's our look through today's slate in the 7 games. A reminder, NHL strategy at 2 p.m., deeper dive with Lofty at 5, live before lock at 6, playback at 7. It's another fun day, guys. I love breaking this stuff down. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see anything else. You know what, Demetrius, that's a good one. I will run a FanDuel sim right now. I tried running it before, and I ran into that little bit of a headache, but I'll run it, and we can run through everything. So let's grab FanDuel. We'll set up a pool size of 5,000. Good reminder, Demetrius. Thank you. And also, I missed it before while I was talking. Shout out to Chris Williams for gifting another 5 Stochastic memberships on YouTube. Love seeing it. Great friend of the program. Happy that you were able to do it. But yeah, for your FanDuel peeps, we'll take a quick look at what the top lineup looks like on FanDuel and some of our exposures. So we're running the sim. We'll just hang out, talk a little bit. Do I gotta bludgeon you guys with more Jake Paul and Mike Tyson talk? All you crazy people Thinking 58-year-old Mike Tyson is just going to be knocking out kids. Ron, what do you mean, am I running my sheets? Not sure what you mean there. I don't know what you mean by running my sheets. Trong, I would do that. I'm going to assume it was the same one, but that one's gone already for DK. I killed that sim, but I can look at it for FanDuel. So for FanDuel, if I favorite the top 150 lineups, our exposures look like this. 92% Kyle Anderson, 70% to Kelly Olynyk and Lonnie Walker. Keep an eye on that one. Lonnie Walker is now questionable. Call it 40 to 45 on Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Anthony Edwards, and Devin Vassell. And then right around 30 to 35 on Dominic Barlow, potential pivot to Zach Collins, Terry Rozier, Malik Monk, and Royce O'Neal. If we want to talk about the number one simulated ROI lineup on FanDuel, Terry Rozier and Trey Jones, Anthony Edwards and Lonnie Walker, Royce O'Neal, Kyle Anderson, Kelly Olynyk, Trey Lyles, and Nikola Jokic. Trey Lyles being the guy that probably makes you a little bit more different in that spot. Same lineup that has the top, same ROI lineup is the top 10 lineup. Also the same lineup that has the highest opportunity to win today. That's going to finish it off, folks. Thank you once again for being here. Don't forget, promo code WEMBY, NBA Sims Max Package, first week, $30. That's 50% off the normal $60 price. Check me out for the rest of the day. Check out my prize picks video. I'm going to record contenders right now. This was very fun, everybody. Hit that like button on your way out the door. If you have any other thoughts for FanDuel, I'm happy to hit on them throughout the show, but I will always run that sim at the end for FanDuel. I promise you that moving forward. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's a very nice Thursday. One more day left in this work week, but for now, we're out of here. This was the NBA Strategy Show.